Joey B puts the league on notice. Coming up next on the WIncinnati Podcast.
Yes. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
How do you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time, man. Yeah. Shock the world.
Welcome to the WIncinnati Podcast. Football is back. Let's get it. I'm Ace Boogie. He is Zim Hude. Zim, what's up, bro?
What's going on, man? I feel really, really good. I hope I have my voice. I was, as someone has said in the comments, I was just destroying someone. But we spin it back, use the other alter ego in me, and it says, let's reel it on in here, boys. Let's have a good show today. Let's talk some real football. Let's go over what has transpired in the last couple of days. And I'm really excited about that. I feel like we're getting really, really close. We're only 11 days away from your glory and your new destiny that is revenge on the NFL, I guess.
Facts for sure. Also, welcome back, Greg Luther. I know he apologized for missing the last show. We already knew that you was going to be tapped in. But if you do guys miss any shows, please be sure to hit that alerts button. Make sure you keep your notifications on. That way you can catch the show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button unless, you were rocking with the purple people last time. You might be rocking with the Squealers. So if you're a true Bengals fan, you're a diehard, you support me and Zim, what we do on this show, what we do on Spaces, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. But today, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. The roster essentially is still coming together. Brandon Allen at this hour still isn't on the team. And the Bengals have made some moves there. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about my guy, O.J. Howard. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you probably know I was a big O.J. Howard guy. Was he the one that got away? We'll discuss that as well. And then we got to talk about Burrow and his comments from the press conference. Good luck. We had a tweet that went viral. We appreciate you guys. If you haven't seen the tweet with the video, check us out at the WIncinnati Pod on Twitter. You can follow Zim at Zim Hude on Twitter. Follow me at New Stripe City. But you can get that content there as well. But we'll go ahead and get into the show.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
All right, let's toss it to the sound of what Burrow was quoted saying that put the league on notice.
I was like, hold up.
If you're going to play too high, you're going to have to deal with Joe Mixon in the run game. And if you decide to play man, then good luck. You got to pick your poison. If you're going to play too high, you're going to have to deal with Joe Mixon in the run game. And if you decide to play man, then good luck. You got to pick your poison. If you're going to play too high, you're going to have to deal with Joe Mixon in the run game. And if you decide to play man, then good luck. You got to pick your poison. If you're going to play too high, you're going to have to deal with Joe Mixon in the run game. And
good luck. That's what you got to do. You got to basically pray if you plan on playing Joe Burrow and this Bengals offense. And, man, I was looking at some stats earlier, courtesy of SIS. And the interesting thing that I found, they actually allow you to select coverages, all of that, right? Quarterback passing stats against coverage. Do you know who the number one starting quarterback in the NFL, completion percentage-wise, was in the NFL against man coverage? Do you know who that was, Zim? Can you take a guess?
I'm not sure. I'm guessing you're going to inform us.
It was Joe Burrow. Like, a lot of people came and talked about this being a cocky statement. It's not cocky. It's confidence. And I think last year backed it up. Even with a bad offensive line, when teams chose to play man coverage against Joe Burrow, he ate it up. And I think the fact that he's also talking about Joe Mixon, I think a lot of people last year, because the offensive line struggled, they really thought that Mixon wasn't going to be a focal point of the offense. Now you got La'el Collins. You got guys that can really get after it on the ground game. And this was a guy that still was putting up 1,500 scrimmage yards, even with a bad offensive line. Like, teams are going to have to account for that. Like, yeah, you can try to do the too high look and all of that, but Joe Mixon is going to kill you in that regard. So me personally, I'm not buying into the whole cocky narrative. I think he's just speaking facts. I mean, I think it is what it is. Do you really want to play man-to-man with Jamar Chase? Do you really want to do that? Do you really want to go one-on-one with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd? Do you even want to go one-on-one with Hayden Hurst? I don't know too many linebackers, especially Devin Bush. Yes, I'm talking to you week one. You don't want to go man-to-man against Hayden Hurst. What are your thoughts on that, Zon?
I just think that the people that think that it's cockiness probably are people that are a little bit more reserved, and I'm a big proponent of just putting it out there on the field. I get that part. But Joe B, to me, represents a voice that a lot of Cincinnati natives or Cincinnati fans just haven't had in a while. And Chad Ochocinco gave us a bit of that. You know what I mean? But to me, football is not science. People could try to break it down, add big words to it, do a bunch of different things. But he's stating the reality of what it is. Like, the reality is, if you try to do these different things and you go into a cover two shell of any form, then Joe Mixon in the box is going to be a one-on-one situation with whoever you like, and we like our chances. This isn't some scrub. This is a guy that had 1,500 all-purpose yards last year behind that offensive line. So he's telling you the truth. On the outside, if you do commit more guys to the box, then he's going to go to the best trio of wide receivers in the NFL. The only wide receiver trio in the NFL that had 3 wide receivers over 800 yards. He's not lying. That's not cockiness. Cockiness is a form of telling somebody you're going to do some obscure things that you haven't already shown. We've already shown everybody this all the way to a Super Bowl. This is the confidence that you can do the same thing again. They asked Jamar Chase about those comments or whatever in the locker room, and he said, I love the fact that my quarterback likes me in a one-on-one situation. They said, do you think that, is it harder in practice in the game? I mean, he was like, if you're practicing really good, then you should be able to do everything that you're doing in practice. You should do it in the game. And people that I found that were kind of like turning their nose up on it are people that are salty that Joe B probably put 400, 500 yards up on you, so you're not going to like it. Then the other people are the people that may have a quarterback as their head of their leader of their team that might be more of an introvert and more of a show me type of guy, and that's cool too. But Joe B, for what this team is, gives us a confidence, and especially gives me a confidence that, maybe I didn't know that I had. So I appreciate when he says things that I already knew that maybe some guys stay tight-lipped about it. I think Tom Brady probably would say the same thing if you asked him right now. Like, it's just certain people kind of get looked at a different way when you talk about have people done this in the NFL enough. And this guy has had 2 consecutive really good seasons. I know this rookie season got cut short, but that was a really good season for me. Like, I hate the fact that people dismiss that. So it's not like he just came into the league this year and he's like Kenny Pickett telling you he's about to do all these things. This is a guy that you've seen him do it all the way to a Super Bowl. It's just a confident dude. And I think a lot of teams will say, well, we beat ourselves and stuff. Bengals truly, if they lose a game, coming up this season, which I'm sure they probably will, it will probably be most likely because we made mistakes or we beat ourselves. Because the matchups and the way that the league is set up, our team is set up for these guys to win their one-on-one matchups, period. Whether it's in the running facet of football or the wide receiver portion of football, we're set up to win those matchups. That is not a fictitious thing.
For sure. You talk about the 63% completion percentage with that situation. Like, he's just comfortable, man. And I think one of the things is when you can't stop Joe Burrow from what he's doing on the field, there's going to be a lot of narratives to try to put some kind of chink in his armor. Because I saw this, and I was talking with Ryan about this last season when Joe Burrow went out there and was like, he was mic'd up and he said, if we win this division, we could win it all. People around the AFC North tried to spin that into he's cocky and he's being disrespectful. No, he's really giving a compliment to how tough this division is and saying that, this is one of the toughest divisions in football. If we can win this division with those 4 teams, then we could go all the way. And clearly, Joe was right. He kind of was right? We didn't win it all, but we got to the dance.
They spit the same thing with Jamar Chase and them and the Migos talking about, like, the Browns is on site. They first of all gave them credit for this Denzel Ward was the toughest matchup that we saw. So when we see him, it's a circled matchup because we have respect for them. They flipped that too and said that we were too confident. Like, it's like you're damn if you do, damn if you don't. I just know that when it gets on the football field, these dudes are going to absolutely destroy some people. Sometimes they're going to be given a good matchup, and that's part of football, and we love it. Let's get it.
For sure. So the Bengals also added 3 players via the waiver wire, guys that they put claims on. It includes help at offensive guard and tight end, Devin Asi, one of my favorites, and as well as Max Sharping and Jay Tufele.
I think you got it right.
I believe.
I think you had Asi spelled or mispronounced. I think it's Asi.
I think that's what we've been calling him. But hey, welcome to the team, bro. I know he hasn't had too many opportunities. I guess we can discuss them. So for me, the Asi kind of thing, for me, I think it's a situation where it's an unknown, right? Maybe he has untapped potential. The one thing that worries me is that the New England Patriots, I just said this the other day, like Bill Belichick isn't the greatest drafter. When you look back at the past 3 drafts for the Patriots, there's only like 2 guys left from those. He was one of the ones that were excommunicated from the Patriots. Does have some traits, just has not had a lot of time to really get on the field. He was in a crowded tight end room. Didn't really see the field, I believe, as a rookie. I think the last time he may have played is 2020 or something like that. So limited opportunities in New England. Definitely is going to have more opportunities in the room in Cincinnati. That is nowhere near as deep as that one. So, maybe he is a guy that can come in and contribute. I don't know if their plan is to use him as a blocking tight end or in the passing game, but he definitely is here. The biggest guy that I like, Max Sharping. I'll let Zim give you guys some more details on that so I don't take everything up, but that's probably my favorite one, as well as Jay. Zim, what are your thoughts on these guys that we ended up claiming off of waivers?
I feel like Tufele, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think that he is a guy, I think as a 4th-round pick, had a high draft grade from a lot of different pundits and different people that, had an opinion on him. And I think he was a victim of really tough situation there with the Jaguars, and he currently isn't, the guys that are there now, he's not their guy. So I read a lot of good stuff about him. I haven't had a chance to really watch a lot of his stuff yet, but all season we were clamoring for the Bengals to go get more additional help on the defensive line, more help on the offensive line. Max Sharping is a guy that had more snaps out of anybody that was claimed on the waiver wire. Coming out, he had one of the highest pass blocking grades in all of football. I thought it was dope to see him there immediately right there practicing. I was like, okay, we like, no BS. He's just out there about to go and do his thing. The Asi thing, I'd be lying if I say I wasn't hype about, the OJ Howard thing. So it is like a bit of a blowback. The plan is in a perfect world, you don't even really need Asi. The plan is Hayden Hurst does his thing. Asi is just a depth piece that maybe gets a little bit of run throughout the season, and he's available. Like, that's the plan. So Hayden Hurst is like, if you see a lot of Asi, something happened to, the Hayden Hurst. And I almost felt the same with OJ Howard. I just thought OJ Howard offered a little bit more in the red zone portion. So I was a little bit bummed out about that. I know in the last show, I wasn't really too happy with it or excited about it. But the more and more I thought about it, I just thought he offered something that, like some of these other tight ends couldn't. And so I kind of fell in love with that. So I was a little disappointed in that. But I do trust our team and the staff members on, the medicals. Lately, they've been getting it right.
For sure. So another thing I want to talk about, defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo talked about the linebackers today. We actually have a tweet that we're going to pull up that I'm going to talk about here. He was quoted today as saying that we had a play today where Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt, when you talk about a 400 level class, they made a 500 level play. I don't even know that if that exists. It's master doctorate class in football. And what actually happened was that they changed something because they heard a check and did exactly what a coach would have done in that situation. So definitely compliments to Logan Wilson as well as Jermaine Pratt. I mean, it's no surprise to me because those two dudes, when you talk about that playoff run that we went on. I don't think we get there without those guys. We talk about Pratt with the interception, playing out of his mind. A lot of people don't realize before the infamous call on Logan Wilson, there's a play right before that where Jermaine Pratt literally does the same thing with standing up in coverage against a wide receiver and forces an incompletion. Those two dudes together, they're just clicking on all cylinders. What are your thoughts on what Lou had to say about Pratt and Wilson?
I've told you this before. Patrick Willis has said this during Super Bowl week. He said, "Man, those are two of my favorite linebackers." Louis Riddick came out recently from the NFL Network and said Logan Wilson is one of the premier linebackers in the NFL. After this season, they have to extend Logan Wilson. I was hoping that they send something. Pratt's way, or that's coming up, right? But those guys, I don't think Pratt will be hard to sign. The Logan Wilson deal, I don't think will be too tough either, but I think that he has a phenomenal year. And then that makes it a little interesting because of the T. Higgins and the Joe Burrow deal. But not to get ahead of myself, currently right now, as it stands, the linebacking group and the safety group of this team, I just think people are not really talking about it outside of our Bengals, community. And I think that's a beautiful thing because it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. Will the Bengals give up sometimes? You know how this goes, the game of football. Give us some big plays here and there, make a mistake here and there. But I just think the overall attrition of the game, the whole entire season, Logan Wilson and Pratt are just some dogs that I'm so happy that we finally got it right. And then when you throw in now what Daxton Hill been there, maybe Akeem Davis-Gaither doesn't get as many opportunities depending on the formations you line up in. But I really think Akeem Davis-Gaither finally takes that next step, and they give him an opportunity to come and blitz from different fire blitzes and zone blitzes and different things that I think he's really, really good at. And I think those opportunities will be there. And that in combination with Pratt and Wilson is awesome. It gives you a little bit of coverage ability as well, too, that maybe you can, for teams that want to run a little bit more, you now have a little bit more beef with Akeem Davis-Gaither there as well. So I hope we don't forget that. And if you get yourself in a bind, don't forget guys like Marcus Bellies of the world and stuff like that still can really cover.
Johnston, Joe Bocci.
Johnston can hit. Bocci and Johnston to me are what do you call it? Hitmen. They're just coming in just to fill cavities, bro. That's it. Just to come in and hit people. No coverage, just fill gaps and just punch people. And I love their game too, because that's old school football that a lot of teams are kind of getting away from. Short tacklers, coach's son type, that pedigree. So I really like that too. We ain't even been talking about the defensive line that much too, because that wild card in Osai on third down, I'm hyped. I'm the second, Pratt and Wilson, I think people are gonna find out real soon. You made a good point. Was that you that said that when we were just in a space and said that the reason why that might have been Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Our guy Eric, check out the 513 here on the Cincinnati channel. I don't want to misquote him, but he was saying a lot of the reasons why we don't do maybe as well with the Browns is because when we get into our teams are built. Our team is built to stop running quarterbacks of a Lamar Jackson and stuff, and some of the pin and pull and gap stuff that the Browns do in their scheme. A lot of times, unless we come with the personnel that we came with the Titans game, we're going to be outmatched up front. And I think for this year coming up, that's still going to be a thing that we got to figure out. As much as we like to say, who cares about the Browns? That's still something that you want to be able to know, how to go ahead and combat that with the personnel that we have. But for anybody else that ain't got a Nick Chubb and a Hunt and all them dudes running in the offensive line like that, I just think they match up really, really well with a lot of teams.
For sure. So shout out to Charlie Goldsmith for that tweet there. We appreciate being able to use that for the show here. That brought a smile to my face with Zim talking about the linebackers. Zim, talk to us about our friends at Pierce Dental.
Well, I'm all smiles. I actually confirmed I have a follow-up and I'm supposed to get some work right after the Steelers game. So hopefully if I'm not hungover enough or whatever, I'm going to be able to go up there. the Pierce Dental Group, and go talk to our guys over there, Dr. Pierce. But if you need a dentist, you should join Pierce Dental Group, located in Cincinnati and Fountain Square. Been around for over 30 plus years, reestablished into a brand new building, great equipment, brand new stuff. Recently just had Dax Hill in there. They took a picture that we posted on our WIncinnati pod. Recently had Akeem Davis Gaither, posted that on our pod. Recently had T. Higgins. So all your favorite Bengals players are currently going to get their teeth done and get their teeth worked on, or just get their smile enhanced. I think you should too. PierceDentalGroup.com, Pierce Dental Group on Twitter and Instagram. Please follow them and check them out. Really great people, and they do really great work.
For sure. So let's talk about OJ Howard. We finally have gotten to the point of the show about the Bengals not really making that deal and bringing it home. I know our man, Just Eric, as you talked about, he had sent me something saying that from what he hears, the reason was that the ankle, I believe, was deteriorating from what they saw on the medical for that. So that leads to the reasoning. For me, it's tough, right? Because when he first was cut, a lot of people were like, $3 million. Why would they just, do that? He's washed up, this and that. So I started doing a little digging. So I'm listening this morning to Greg Cosell, who I really am a fan of, guy from NFL Films, had great things to say about T. Higgins before the draft when he was talking about those receivers. He said that he had watched him, and he said that he actually looked good in the preseason, especially from a run blocking standpoint. And so then I went and looked, and I'm like, all right, well, if he looked good, what else did he do in the preseason? And then I come across a highlight that I actually remember seeing, but I just didn't know it was OJ Howard during that Bills game, and it's him catching a touchdown. And I'm like, for me, that's all I needed OJ Howard to do. I didn't need OJ Howard to be tight end one. I just needed him to be a guy that was a mismatch in the red zone to catch touchdowns. But if the Bengals feel like the medical isn't worth it, I totally understand it. It just was like, man, we went from OJ Howard up here to not OJ Howard. And I think the Texans, a lot of people talked about how the Texans were pissed about Max Sharping getting stolen from them by the Bengals. A lot of people feel like this was a follow-up move or a revenge move from them, signing OJ Howard away from the Bengals after the medical didn't work out. I guess that was their get back. But for me, OJ Howard's role was always just depth. For me, taking OJ Howard out of it, just looking at the Bengals' depth at tight end, that's what kind of worries me about the tight end room, because I know Bengals fans don't want to say it. We don't want to wish injuries. Of course, I'm knocking on wood. There have been some durability issues in Hayden Hurst's past. Not saying that he's going to miss the whole season, but if he's out there, 1 or 2 games and you're without him, what is that next guy really giving you? And I just felt like that was the thing where OJ Howard, he has a resume. I'm not expecting him to be the OJ Howard before the injury, but I still think, 70% OJ Howard is still better than what the Bengals had. But obviously, they were scared away from the medicals. And what are your thoughts on it?
Let me ask you this. Were you a big OJ Howard enthusiast coming out of the draft?
I did like OJ Howard for the draft. However,
is that the draft with Dre Kirkpatrick?
That, I believe, was the draft with John Ross. That was the John Ross draft, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Somebody in the comments, I remember on my Instagram, everybody wanted OJ Howard. A lot of people
did want OJ
Everybody wanted OJ Howard.
Because we were dealing with Eifert having the injuries and stuff like that. That was like the Tyler Kroft years. They wanted another guy that could come in and do it. He was one of the guys I did like, but there were other guys I like Jonathan Allen, Reuben Foster.
Everybody wanted Reuben Foster too. Yeah.
Who was the tackle that went to the Jags? Cam Robinson. That was another one that I liked. But OJ was definitely in that mix for a lot of Bengals fans. Like you said, during the draft, I think even when he was with the Bucs still and they grabbed Gronk, a lot of Bengals fans wanted us to trade for OJ Howard because they weren't using him. Then when he was a free agent this offseason, a lot of people wanted OJ Howard. But the one thing I'll give the Bengals credit for is they did their due diligence. Like, at least they brought him in. At least they considered it. But then it just didn't work out. But what were your thoughts?
I think even in our free agent special, I think on one of the mocks or something, you picked up OJ Howard, I think.
Probably.
But I kind of go back and forth because I feel like on one end, I believe that Asiasi was a guy that they really, really wanted. And I think that they wouldn't have put in a waiver claim for him if they thought they had a real shot at getting like a OJ Howard or something like that. And I just think that they value him a little bit more. I don't know if it was youth or not. And maybe I was maybe Asiasi probably showed them some things and potential that maybe they just feel are untapped that we just haven't seen yet. And I would have loved to see Asiasi in preseason. That's the one thing that I just wish I could have saw him like in our system in preseason. And I just thought that would be dope. But as I said earlier in the show, if we're seeing a lot of Asiasi, that just means that something with Hurst didn't go the right way. But I think at that point, the Gronk call has to be placed. And I think they get Joe Burrow on the phone. I think Joe gets on the phone by that. Like if we, I think you all forget about OJ if Gronk comes here. But because I realistically think about this. This is the one thing I will take out of it. The Bengals recognize that they have a depth issue at tight end, and they recognize that just having Hayden Hurst isn't enough. If Hayden Hurst was to get nicked up or anything, or they felt like they needed something, it let me know that they won't stop at going to go get something else, like something else to replace it. Whether I'm just throwing Gronk out there or whatever, because to me, it is a real possibility. If the guy says he wants to play with the Bengals, like that's a real thing. But say it's not Gronk. They know that they have a deficient, something that is not elite at that point. And like you said, they went and had effort to go and look at these different things. So I'm not too disappointed with it. I think I fell in love with the idea of getting OJ Howard or whatever, but it's not going to work, because now he's with the Texans. But I don't know. I kind of go back and forth, really. I just think it's going to work out in our favor. And I just think from a depth perspective, he just was going to ask to be here and be available and maybe be used in the red zone some, maybe. And that's all I got.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We have 126 live viewers right now. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button. We appreciate that. As Zim pointed out earlier, we have more content on the channel where you can catch the Bengals Pulse with Jake and Mon. Mon is actually in the comments. Check them out. He also has made an appearance on Twitter Spaces, as well as Just Eric and our man G Money with the new Wincy. So please be sure to hit that subscribe button, like it. It helps other Bengals fans find our content. And if you hit that notification bell, you will be alerted whenever we go live and have this show. We appreciate you guys talking about that. The big news, though, around the NFL today, Russell Wilson's contract and what that means for Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson from our side of the coin. He gets a 5-year, $245 million extension. The big thing that everybody's talking about, though, the 165 guarantee, right? That's what Lamar reportedly has been looking for. Obviously, we know what situation happened with Deshaun Watson and what that contract looks like. If I'm looking at it from my perspective, does this help the Ravens? I don't think it does. Like when it comes down to this deal, the whole thing that Cleveland's owner wanted to do, a part of it was obviously landing Deshaun Watson, right? But another part of that was he's not a dummy. He knows that he plays in the AFC North. He knows that he has a Lamar Jackson that's getting ready to get paid. He knows that he also has a Joe Burrow that's getting ready to get paid. So how can I not only improve my roster, but also try to bring a threat to one of my enemies in the division that's the biggest competition? I'm going to give one of these guys, or my guy, $200 million guaranteed. So the Russell Wilson situation, a lot of people are talking about it, and a lot of people are talking about Kyler too, right? And the way I see it is Russell Wilson is in like the end of his career. This is not Russell Wilson in his prime signing a deal. Like if I'm Lamar Jackson, I'm like, yeah, he's in the twilight of his career. If Russell Wilson was 25, Russell Wilson would be getting a guaranteed contract, in my opinion, of that magnitude. Now, when you talk about Kyler Murray hasn't even been to the playoffs. Like they're not on the same level in terms of accomplishments. This guy has won an MVP. So I can understand why you wouldn't give Kyler Murray a guaranteed like contract, but Lamar Jackson has been there. So for me, I think what Lamar Jackson is looking at and what Joe Burrow is looking at is there's a guy in the division that has $200 million guaranteed. And if I feel like I'm better than him, or if he feels like he's better than him, we deserve more than that guy. And I think that's the scope that I would assume that they would be taking, especially if you got a guy in your own division that you don't feel like is better than you. Now, that's subjective. I'm not going to, this is a Bengals platform. I honestly believe Burrow is better than Deshaun, but there are some people out there that feel like Deshaun might be better or on the same level as a Lamar Jackson or a Joe Burrow. I don't subscribe to that, but I feel like it just doesn't matter for the Lamar situation. I think he even tweeted and said like Walmart money or something like that. Like he wasn't really looking at it as that's my deal. So I personally don't think that this helps the Ravens. What about you, man?
I saw the tweet. Did you see the one where they was like, yeah, there ain't no Walmart money?
Yeah.
You saw that? And I thought that was written to suggest that the Ravens didn't offer anything near that.
Ooh.
Like that's the way I took it.
Walmart money is crazy.
Cause he was like, yeah, that show ain't no Walmart money. He was like, yeah, show ain't or something like that, right?
Right.
I think that the Ravens didn't even offer on that. I think now that this is the one thing that I think that they should do. If I was the Ravens, I'm a jump onto enemy territory. Everybody talks about the double franchise and stuff like that, right? If I were the Ravens, I don't want to commit. Now, Lamar could be saying I want a long term. I doubt it. But it works in their favor. I doubt it because he's going to probably say, get the pieces around me. But he probably looks at this deal and says, okay, give me 165 mil guaranteed, but let's do it for 3 years. So now you're at the top of the field, $50-something million. I think that might make him second or third highest paid. Somebody could fact check me on that. I think it's like 52 million or something like that. So 165, 3 years. Now you don't have to worry about the double franchise. You don't have to worry about this current year, whatever, because now you've got the actual money and it's guaranteed for 3 years. Now, what it does, though, the conversations that they would have inside the building is that, look, long term, let's keep on going, let's work towards something longer. But what it does is make his contract more attractive to like a suitor or somebody that's looking to get him. Instead of giving up a whole bunch of firsts and mortgaging the whole franchise, maybe you just give up like 2 firsts and then you inherit the guaranteed money for that if this thing doesn't work out the way that they want. Because clearly the Ravens are reluctant to make this a long-term deal. If it was like a long-term deal stretched out like 10 years, $200 million to me for him, a 25-year-old quarterback, isn't the worst thing I've ever heard. Like 200 or 210 guaranteed. I think you take the good with the bad with them and say, at least for the next 4 or 5 years, we know we have a plan. Maybe it doesn't work out past that, but I think if they just shorten the deal out, take the 165 and say, hey, the Deshaun one isn't practical for us. And the Ravens probably say, I can't sign all of these guys. That's their organization. They give them their spiel. And then Lamar, I think says, well, I am the highest paid. If I were them, that's what I think that they should do. Because I don't think there's a world that he plays on a franchise part. I do think there is a world that he does play on this one because I think he feels like he wants to show everybody that he is loyal to the people this year, and he doesn't like the fact that they're doing this, and he probably just like, man, you know what? Forget it. Let's just go out there. Let's just get it over with, and let's just do it. He's probably less motivated to do it. Goes out there. The minute he gets any type of injury, unlike the Jesse Bates situation, I think he probably is going to be like, yeah, I'm checking out because now we don't have anything long term, so I'm not about to bust my butt for you guys. Fair. And I've already proven enough to everybody else, so I can go get me another. I can get another suitor at the end of this year and go do it then. I don't think he'll be motivated to play for them. Like even if they unless that deal was like long term, I don't think he's motivated at any part to play for them, especially given who the current coordinator is and how it matches up on the him long term. The only person I see really championing him online, and I think that's just because it's his friend, and that's what friends should do, is RG3. Aside from that, all the other friends or people that he's cool with, like the Dez Bryants of the world, they all say don't play. I don't think from a business standpoint, it makes no sense to play. It does nothing to increase your value by going out there and playing unless you had a 2019 like campaign. If he played a really good season it does nothing for, like it does nothing to secure this season. It only builds on what he would have potentially got the following seasons, which he's already going to get. If everybody's getting paid 40, 50 next year, he's still going to get that no matter what. It's like no point in playing. But
No,
I don't think he goes that route.
I think if Joe Burrow was like, look, I need $225 million guaranteed and Midwest barbecue for the rest of my life, I think the Bengals would be like, let's make that happen. We'll throw some Cardis in there. We'll do whatever it takes to get that deal done. But let's talk to our friends over at Midwest Best Barbecue.
Wings, them beats got you with them Bono wings. Bono wings, they tell me that the Bono wings will make you do the gritty. The Bono wings will make you do the gritty. Bono wings, come and get them Bono wings. Bono wings, who they gonna beat them Bono wings, them beats got you with them Bono wings. Bono wings, they tell me that the Bono wings will make you do the gritty. The Bono wings will make you do the gritty.
Like my man Zim was just saying backstage, Uno Wings is going triple platinum in spaces. We got fans of the show just playing it, jamming out, listening to it. Apparently, our man was listening to it on YouTube at ×2. Apparently, we need to listen to it that way. I might need to listen to it at 0.5 on YouTube. Who knows? But it's definitely slamming, and the food is definitely slamming. I know you love the Uno Wings commercial, but wait until you have the Uno Wing itself at Midwest Best Barbecue. They got some great things going on over there. Don't forget the sour cream and onion. Don't forget the Grippo wings. They got it all over there. So definitely, if you're hungry this season, you want some wings, check out our friends in Loveland, 669 Justice Court, and tell them that Ace and Zim sent you. But Zim, we got to talk about it, bro. It was crazy last night. We had a Bengals league with some fantasy stuff happening. We just had the draft last night. Ryan is a part of it as well. Eric is in there. Joe Goodberry. I think we also have Yaz in there. Willie Lutz. Like, it's everybody that you pretty much follow our man Game On from Spaces. Bangalorean. I might call him Ravalorian now after looking at his roster.
He got an all Ravens team.
All of us, we got it in yesterday. And so we're just going to show you guys what our rosters were. We're gonna walk through these. So let's talk.
Of course, you got Dalvin Cook. You're a Tallahassee boy for real.
Yeah, man. I couldn't take the Steelers. I have a no Steelers rule. There was no way that I was gonna draft any Steelers in a Bengals league. Why would I do that? Why would I do that?
I'm gonna tell you my strategy. I knew that people, if people are looking at this roster on our live, this is why you got to check out us on YouTube so you can look at graphics like this. But one of my strategies was I knew that Bengals players would go off the board really, really quick. And I just knew that Steelers and Ravens would just be sitting around. But I guess other people like Bangalorian took the same strategies like, well, shoot, I'm going to take all the Ravens too. Now, the graphic doesn't show. I have Fry removed from my bench as well, though. That is, I never had a Steeler before. This is my first time ever.
I didn't take a Brown. I didn't take a Steeler. I didn't take a Raven. It was like, all right, let's get it.
Did he a homer?
I went and grabbed Dalvin Cook.
Let's just go through A's roster real quick. Dalvin Cook, Justin Herbert, cool.
T. Higgins, I think, was my second round pick because after
Christian McCaffrey is on, bro. When Christian McCaffrey is on, he is on. Like
that's a risk, bro. Christian McCaffrey.
Ezekiel Elliott has chronic arthritis issues, and Tony Pollard is vying for a spot. And they already said that they don't want to continue his contract further than the one he currently has. He's like, no, that's not a guy.
I think Christian McCaffrey sprained his thumb signing that contract a few years ago.
As Christian McCaffrey and Baker, who say he's going to F the Browns up, they're going to come out there week one and show you what. Look, I was in my fantasy league. I was the champion last year. One game I had, Christian McCaffrey was out like 4 or 5 weeks or something. He comes back for that game. I lose a game, and I almost missed the playoffs because this dude got McCaffrey and played that one game for 3 quarters. Remember McCaffrey gets hurt and
I
like the
remember.
4 Bro put up like 50 points on me. I was like, what?
He
Dog,
is an amazing player. I got burnt by him and Saquon Barkley.
Right.
They are on my do not draft list, but I'm not mad at it.
Like, I don't like how this graph doesn't show my backup running backs because
but
I do have.
You got to tell them because Ryan said it. I didn't even realize it. You picked Christian McCaffrey over Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
You got to give because an explanation.
Jonathan Taylor, I feel like there's a rule to like running backs to me. It's like the ones that get the heavy workloads the year prior or whatever. I just don't believe in them the following year unless you're like some like next generation level Adrian Peterson level talent or Derrick Henry of the world. It's a PPR league or whatever.
And it's PPR, so he's not a guy. They've got Hines there, right? Hines is usually the guy that gets the reception.
He's going to take some. Jonathan Taylor gets a good amount of catches too, a little bit, but he's going to run really well. And I believe in him in real life. I would 100 times out of 100 times you take Jonathan Taylor. But for PPR level, Christian McCaffrey, Baker Mayfield dumping the ball off, checking it down, I just feel like, dog, he's just going to go crazy. But this is the thing. My contingency plan with my backup running backs is really good. I'm not a big fan of Ezekiel Elliott. I am a big fan of T. Higgins, so I thought that was a good pick. All the Bengals players went super early in our draft, bro.
They went. I took a potential Bengal. He's gonna hit waivers, but I drafted OJ Howard last night.
You got OJ at the end?
Just trolling like the last round. I was just like, let me just go ahead and wish this into existence, but it did not happen. I
almost got Pickens. I almost got George Pickens, but I had to. There was only one last kicker that I felt was on a team that actually scores a good amount of points. Like after Matt Gay, the only other kickers were like kickers for like the Jets and like all these other teams that I just don't imagine scoring a lot of points. So I ended up picking the kicker over Pickens. You got Bengals defense in my money league. I have the Bengals defense.
When everybody was stealing Bengals players, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just steal the defense. It's lose season,
bro. I think the defense, depending on what type of league you are from a turnover standpoint, like I get it. Like Steelers always gonna get a lot of sacks. I think they're gonna give up a lot of yards, but turnover wise and just fumble recoveries and stuff like that, there are leagues, especially in Yahoo, that are set up like I just think prime for the Bengals, bro.
For sure. I did like some of the other picks that you had that were sleepers, like Chase Edmonds. A lot of people don't realize like he's gonna have a big role. Obviously, George Kittle, Chris Godwin is also a good pick as well. DJ Moore. I think a lot of people. I actually like your receivers, Tyreek Hill and DJ Moore. Like Tyreek is
and Adam Thielen on the bench along with and I got Devontae Parker from the Patriots as well. But Freiermuth is on the bench. If you're worried about Matthew Stafford's elbow, I got Derek Carr as the backup. And one of my favorite pickups, I like the kid Pierce from the Texans, but the running back for the Washington football team, the Commanders, J.D. McKissick, he gets a lot of receptions. If you've ever had him on a fantasy football team, like he doesn't get any runs. He gets a lot of receptions and a lot of that dump off stuff. Out the backfield, and they line them up in some very unique ways. The same way that I wish that the Bengals in real life would use Chris Evans.
For sure. I'm mad Ryan didn't put his team up here, Ryan. I should have actually pulled out his roster. I was trying to get logged in.
I got him pulled up. Let's just go over him real quick.
Man. Pull his card out. Because, you're not getting away, Ryan. You're going to have to answer about this team too, bro.
Hold on. Isn't he the Corey Dillon cutbacks?
I think he may be. He might be the Corey Dillon cutback.
Yeah, he is. He got Joe Burrow as the quarterback. Yeah. He's got Clyde Edwards-Helaire as his running back one. I'm gonna tear you apart. You're done. You know the running back that they got? I think he's of like Hispanic descent. I can't think of his name. His name is like Alejo or something. Somebody in the comments tell me that dude is going to get a lot more carries than people think. He does have Pierce as his RB2. He has Devontae Adams, arguably, if not the best wide receiver in football, and Stephon Diggs, and Darren Waller, and Amari Cooper.
Woo. Okay,
he is
Ryan.
loaded up. He cooking.
Ryan.
Tampa Bay defense. He's got the kicker for the Bills.
He's
So
got
he's
the
a
running
high.
backs don't matter strategy. I feel you, Ryan. It's a PPR league.
his
You gotta
running-
get it how you live.
His running backs are Melvin Gordon, and then I like Cook though from the Bills. Brian's team is pretty good.
Brian, yeah. Brian
He's
got some
projected to
players.
only score 110 points week 1. I'm projected to score 120 something amongst the top of the league, as you can imagine, everyone. But this is just the way it goes.
And I'm
They're gonna all find out the hard way.
our fellow Cincinnati member, Just Eric. He's actually projected to whoop me by like 6 points right now. So we'll see what happens with that. I might let him get into his fantasy team on his show if he chooses to do that. But he's got a decent squad. I think he was kind of tough on himself about his squad. I think his squad looks legit to me, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely be keeping you guys updated with how it goes. Yes. Definitely took
Yaz team is wild.
Pearson quick. Might have been round 9 or something like that. She took him quick.
Let me tell you, the genius of WIncinnati is that my office doors are always open. If you're in a bind, you want to get a trade, you want to make a play, come see the general. All right, that's where the season gets won.
Yep. So Ryan, if you want to offer him someone other than Christian McCaffrey, because we know what's gonna happen, hit his office doors up now. I'm just playing. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a great season. Zim, as he said, is a previous champion. So I think it'll be a fun league. But definitely be sure to turn up with us on the road, man. We're going to be doing this Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we will be in different cities for the most part attending games. And if you do want to do that, make sure you hit up our friends, Fans of Cincy. They're going to help you guys get those trips planned. They're going to make sure that you guys get to New Orleans, get to Tampa, get to Zeke in week 2 in Dallas. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff going on that's going to include all of your trip planning, whether it's a flight, whatever that is, tickets to the game. You're even going to get a plate at the tailgate if you pull up. Me and Zim are going to be at some of them participating, and they've got some pretty good deals right now, and all it takes is a deposit of $200. So you can do that. Bring your family, have a good time, and turn up with Houday Nation. So shout out to Fans of Cincy. And if you want to book that, you will book that at fansofcincy.com. But this has been the WIncinnati Podcast. You can catch us on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Zim, was there anything that you wanted to say while you are basking in your glory of that glorious 2021 Fantasy Football Championship?
Champion. That's all I gotta say. Everybody knows. Yeah, even my son knows I'm a champion.
He knows that the champ is here. Thank you guys for listening to the WIncinnati Podcast. Yes, sir.
Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Waiver, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
How do you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time? Shock the world.